Under every video about the Arsenal ship, or BBGN, someone writes the same thing. They say we do not need an expensive surface battleship because we already have 4 Ohio-class guided missile submarines. It sounds like a checkmate argument until you look at the Navy's own retirement calendar. Those 4 boats are not a permanent fleet, they are a countdown clock, and the timer was supposed to hit 0 much sooner than most people realize. Once you see the math, the entire objection falls apart. The 4 converted Ohio-class SSGNs are USS Ohio, USS Michigan, USS Florida, and USS Georgia. For years, the Navy's fiscal year 2024 long-range shipbuilding plan listed Ohio and Florida for retirement in fiscal year 2026, with Michigan and Georgia following in fiscal year 2028. There is no planned life extension and no backup hull waiting in reserve. But as of May 2026, Navy leadership is openly discussing delays because Virginia production is so far behind. Ohio and Florida may stay a little longer, not because they are healthy, but because the replacement simply is not there. The Navy itself warns that these retirements will cause a steep reduction in undersea vertical launch capacity whenever they finally happen. Each Ohio SSGN carries up to 154 Tomahawk missiles across 22 modified Trident tubes, with realistic combat loads often hovering around 100 missiles per boat when Special Operations Forces and their gear are embarked. Across all 4 hulls, that adds up to a combined design capacity of roughly 616 VLS cells. When those submarines retire between 2026 and 2028, that massive strike capacity will disappear from the fleet. The replacement platform is already in production, but its capacity is nowhere close to filling that hole. Designated successor is the Virginia-class Block V submarine equipped with the Virginia Payload Module. This module adds 4 large-diameter tubes, each holding 7 Tomahawks, for a total of 28 VPM cells plus 12 additional missiles in the bow. That gives each Block V a total of 40 Tomahawks, which is impressive until you compare it to one Ohio carrying 154. Mathematically, it takes nearly 4 Virginia Block V submarines to replace a single Ohio SSGN. To fully replace all 4 retiring boats, the Navy would need 15 or 16 Block V hulls, a number that is completely impossible under current industrial constraints. America's submarine industrial base is already stretched to its absolute breaking point. The current production rate for Virginia-class boats averages between 1.2 and 1.8 per year, well below the target of 2, because the Columbia-class ballistic missile submarine program consumes the same skilled welders and suppliers. The Navy's own goal of 1 Columbia and 2 Virginias per year is not expected before 2028. At that rate, building enough Block V hulls to replicate the Ohio SSGN capacity would take well over a decade. Meanwhile, China has commissioned 10 Type 055 destroyers since 2020, each packing 112 VLS cells, and continues building more, and the gap widens with every month of delay. People ask why we do not just refuel the reactors and keep the Ohio SSGN sailing for another decade. The answer is physics, not budget. The S8G reactors were refueled once during the SSGN conversion between 2002 and 2008, and those cores are now approaching the end of their second life. The hulls themselves have accumulated 3 times the intended fatigue cycles after more than 40 years of service, and every available dry dock is already committed to the Columbia-class SSVN program. Extending these boats would require stealing resources from the nation's top strategic nuclear priority, which is a trade the Navy is not willing to make. Ohio SSGNs are masters of silent first strike, capable of loitering unseen for 3 months and launching over 100 missiles without warning. What they cannot do is park visibly in the Taiwan Strait and force an adversary to think twice. They cannot reload at sea without returning to Guam, and their onboard electrical generation limits the deployment of future weapons like 300 kilowatt lasers or large numbers of CPS hypersonic missiles. Stealth is essential, but deterrence also requires a visible, persistent presence that a submarine simply cannot provide. When you cannot build 15 new submarines fast enough and you know 500-plus strike cells are about to vanish, the calculus changes. A large nuclear-powered surface combatant built at Newport News alongside aircraft carriers using a derivative of the proven A-1B reactor from the Ford-class program, becomes the only realistic way to regenerate mass quickly. 1 or 2 BBGN hulls packing over 200 VLS cells each would immediately restore a significant portion of the lost capacity. They would also bring massive electrical margins for directed energy weapons and the ability to stay on station and reload without leaving the fight. Beyond the raw cell count, the cost per installed VLS tube tells a story that budget analysts should be paying attention to. A single Virginia Block V now costs roughly $4.3 to $5 billion for 40 missiles, which breaks down to around $110 million per Tomahawk tube. A conceptual BBGN built on a carrier hull with 200 or more cells aims for a total cost of $6 to $8 billion, putting the cost per tube closer to $30 to $40 million. You are not just getting more missiles into the water faster, you are getting each launch cell at a significantly lower unit cost. Next time someone says the Navy already has 4 Arsenal ships hiding under the sea, the answer is simple. Yes, we do, and they were originally scheduled to retire starting this year or next, even if delays buy us a little more time. The Ohio SSGNs were an extraordinary Cold War windfall, but that surplus is gone forever. The Virginia Block 5 is a capable submarine, yet it cannot fill the strike gap alone. BBGN is not a nostalgic battleship fantasy, it is the realistic industrial and strategic bridge while we wait for large payload submarines that may not arrive until the 2040s.